this year, Pluto, Jupiter and Saturn were all in Capricorn. They're all in the sign of Capricorn. And this is a kind of unprecedented event. It hasn't happened for thousands of years, that these three should line up in that particular bit of the sky that we called Capricorn. And Pluto and Saturn are the most difficult planets. Well, they've got the reputation for being the most difficult planets. And here they are together, and with Jupiter, the king of the gods. Jupiter always inflates things. And yeah, it's been, I didn't predict the coronavirus. I didn't see that coming. But what a year, what a year. And if we look at the, you've got
Rebekah,
the slides
you just
now.
have now the slides up. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry for that.
we've got the slides. So just wanted to recap about what's been happening in Capricorn, because the focus of this talk is looking forward when everything shifts into the next sign, which is Aquarius. So in 2008, at the beginning of 2008, little Pluto, the furthest out planet in the solar system, moved it from Sagittarius into Capricorn. And very soon after that, we had the financial crash. And that immediately, perfectly sums up Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn has to do with, if we could have the next slide, Monica. In fact, slide 3. Slide 3. Capricorn has to do with life on Earth. It's an Earth sign, it's cardinal Earth, it has to do with being here. All signs have a spiritual essence, but Capricorn is very much about living on this planet and what can you achieve, what can you create, what can you make, what can you manifest. It's a sign above all to do with manifestation. And one of the first things as human beings, what we manifest is our society. And it's the 10th sign of the zodiac. So you've gone through all the others and you get to the 10th, and it's bringing together everything to make a society to come together. So it has to do with the law. It has to do with banking. It has to do with finance. It has to do with literally building things, making buildings, engineering, mechanics, all these practical things to make the world function. And above all, I feel it has a lot on that level of mundane, of worldly affairs. It has a lot to do with what kind of civilization do we make? So if you go to the next slide, Monica. This little slideshow, this is some of them, maybe the mundane aspects of Capricorn. So we've got the law, we've got the police, we've got politics. So to come back to Pluto in 2008, traveling through Capricorn, and we get the financial crash, and then we get all kinds of scandals. We get things, so Pluto's the lord of the underworld, and what Pluto does, it goes down into what underpins our society and brings it to the surface. And we've seen so much about plutocracy, about lobbying, about corruption. And then, of course, further on, it moved into Capricorn. Then we start getting shock political outcomes. The election of Trump as president, the UK leaving the European Union, and this kind of earthquake that's happening in Capricorn is asking us. Every time one of these shock events occurs, the Me Too movement. I don't know if you remember way back when the Deepwater Horizon, the oil well that was sunk into, I think it was the Caribbean, and it went wrong, and there was a fear that it was not going to stop pumping out oil. And all these things are to do with how we run our world, and then more and more recently, all the stuff about climate change. and the breakdown of the environment. This is Pluto in Capricorn, and it's asking and asking, is this the world you want? Is this a society you want? Is this how we want to live? Is this the politics we want? You know, is this the kind of world that we want to create? And we keep seeing like the things that are so disturbing about this world. And in December 2017, Saturn entered Capricorn and started its journey through Capricorn. In December 2019, nearly a year ago, Jupiter entered Capricorn. So these three are converging, they're moving towards Pluto. I thought there might be a war, but what we got was the coronavirus. And in my last talk, what I was saying is how this time of the lockdown in Europe, it was in the spring, in some ways was a voice from the higher expression of these planets, which is about stillness. So Saturn, you know, if you keep on keeping on, when Saturn comes, then if wherever you're out of alignment, you will fall down. And the same with Pluto. But what they want, these planets, is for us to stop, which is exactly what the lockdown achieved. Stop and reflect and have that space to see what is going on. And if we have the next slide, Monica. These are some of the higher attributes of Capricorn. So I don't want to spend too long with Capricorn, but we've got the oak tree and the massive roots that hold an oak tree into the earth, and the mountain energy, the stillness and peace that you find in the mountain. People kind of forget, Jesus Christ is associated very much with Pisces. Jesus was a Capricorn, and of course we don't actually know when he was born, but he has the essence of Capricorn. And the cross, the ancient symbol of the cross, is the cross of matter. So the whole thing with Capricorn is spirit coming down into matter. And what do we encounter here? And quite often what we encounter is difficult. It's not a picnic. Being on planet Earth is not a picnic. But in this journey through Capricorn, this is what these difficult transits, these difficult experiences, this is what it is asking us, which is to find that essence of Capricorn, to find our connection to spirit, to know how to anchor ourselves deep into the earth. You know, we speak in meditation about becoming a bridge between heaven and earth. This is Capricorn. This is the essence of Capricorn. This is the wisdom of Capricorn. It's being here, being present. This is Saturn, Lord of Time, being still, bringing time to a halt. Pluto, come down into Tantien, into your power. So we go from the extremes of all the political upheavals and the tragedy and the pain of the Black Lives Matter into, whenever we can, into the stillness, into the silence. And this is what is being asked of us in Capricorn. So if I just click on back to the dates. And this is all, basically this week, it's just come to a head. You'll have seen a lot of stuff about Thursday and the coming together of Jupiter and Pluto for the last time. So the three planets, they're closer together than they've ever been, as far as I can see, in history. And if you could look through a telescope, you would see these three planets lined up with all that energy pouring onto the earth. And of course, we've just had the American election, and for many of us, that's the relief, a sense of release, a sense of movement, a sense of change. And this is what is coming now. And that's what I wanted to talk about now. The Capricorn intensity is coming to an end. And it's coming to an end very quickly because this big conjunction is at the end of Capricorn. And from now on, we're moving towards not a total shift, because Pluto stays in Capricorn for another 3 years, I think, 4 years, 3-4 years. But Jupiter and Saturn are much more fast moving than Pluto. And they are now, from in the next month, they are just racing away, finishing their journey in Capricorn, and we're moving into the sign of Aquarius. And we have this wonderful thing that on December the 21st, the day of the winter solstice, Jupiter and Saturn exactly together, exactly aligned, move into 0 degrees of Aquarius together. So, let me see. Yeah, you could go to the next sign, which says, slide says Aquarius, the water carrier. So Aquarius is an air sign. A lot of people think it's a water sign, but it's not. It's an air sign. But I think the way I want to frame it, without going into, you can read up about Aquarius anyway, it's also about civilization. So Capricorn is like, here is this world that here are the roads that we built, here are the buildings, here are the laws of the land, here's the way our finances work, all about how it works. And Aquarius is also about society. It's also very much about people, but it's about change. It's an air sign, it's a mental sign, it's about idealism. And if you go on to the next slide, Monica. Uranus, is the planet that rules Aquarius, was discovered at the time of the American and the French revolutions. And so Aquarius is looking for something else, looking for something better, wanting to have change, wanting to overthrow the past, wanting to move into something better. And it doesn't always work. And I suppose this is the sort of sense of urgency I have about this. Idealism, yes, Aquarius, very idealistic, very humanitarian, wanting the best for everyone, wanting a more equal society. And we know about revolution, it almost never goes right. The longing to get rid of the injustices that we see in our world, the longing to put it right, the longing to make it better. But there's enormous risk. There's enormous risk. That because it comes from the head, if you only come from the head, then from the ideal, from the rational, from the logical, then it can go wrong. And it always has in the past. I mean, go wrong in that it ends up with a lot of people dying, with a lot of suffering. So if we look at, revolution, radical revolution, and we've got Martin Luther King. It's not that these are bad people, and not, of course he's not. There's this longing for change. And just to stay with this for a moment, so we've been in this Capricorn energy where what we've been confronted with, like bam, like this, is you are not running the planet right. If you carry on like this, the human race will die because of climate change, because of degradation of the environment. Species, wonderful species of animals, wonderful iconic species, going extinct. The glaciers, dissolving, the ice caps. All this is confronting us. So we have to change. And this is the message of Capricorn, you know, is to confront, to face. These are the painful realities that we've seen in this last year. Very much, you know, really, really highlighted. And it has felt dark, I think, because of the power of the Pluto energy and the Saturn energy. I feel like we spend a lot of time in the underworld this year, looking at the underbelly of things, you know, finding out, gosh, over this journey of Pluto in Capricorn, I think it's just opened the door and shown us some of the horrors that humanity is capable of. You know, whether it's the atrocities that we started hearing about committed when ISIS was the uprising of ISIS, or whether it's the bombing of the Middle East by the West, you know, things that have, you know, disasters that have overcome nations and groups in these last 10 years. And the Black Lives Matter, the police, the, you know, institutionalized racism, and the Me Too movement, you know, the awareness of sexual assault. And this is all Pluto, the realm of Pluto. These things we don't want to think about, we want to push them away, and they come into the surface. Sex trafficking, child slave trafficking, all these, the absolute shadow side of humanity. That is what we have been confronted with the journey of Pluto into Capricorn. And Aquarius, I feel, has more light. It's a very, very light, shining light, white light sort of sign. And, you know, personally, I feel this kind of running towards Aquarius. Thank God, you know, Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius, it's all going to get better. And it's, you know, as soon as this big conjunction is moved through, we get news of a vaccination for the COVID virus. Which is, for some of us, that's not dead simple. I'm not wild about vaccination. I'm not anti-vax, but I'm not keen on it. But that's a very Aquarian thing, where you might get threatened with laws, you know, that it might become very, very difficult not to have the vaccination. I'm not saying that's happened, but those are the risks of coming into Aquarius, that we get into groupthink, and where because Aquarius wants equality, wants everyone to share equally, but it can so easily go into control. I think that is the word, where it becomes controlling, and we get, I'm not saying this is about to happen here, but you end up with a totalitarian society. Where you wanted egalitarianism, you end up with totalitarianism. If you go on to the next slide, Monica. Just introducing you to Aquarius. These are some of the other things that we very much associate with technology: social networks, computing, science. Because it's of the mind. Aquarius is air sign, it's fixed air sign, it's mental, it's idealistic, it's visionary, it's looking to the future, and science and invention and original thinking and new things. But I think a lot of us, again, particularly with this journey through Capricorn, are aware that our technology, our brilliant technology and our medical advances, as outruns our wisdom. That for me, you know, there's a big fear of technology going out of control. We now have things like genetic engineering that become more and more possible. And what is the ethics in all that? Where's the ethics in the way we run our social media? And the next one, if the next slide, this is more, you know, the vision of Aquarius is people coming together and living in communities and using technology to make the world a better place and so on. So yeah, let's look at the next slide. So I'm just watching the time. When we're talking about Aquarius, so just say a bit more about that. The Jupiter and Saturn, they've got another 30 days in Capricorn, and then it's a big shift. It's a big new wave, a big different energy. They've, you know, they've been in Capricorn. Saturn's been there for nearly 3 years, Jupiter for a year, and here we go into Aquarius. The archetype, to sort of to get that sense, that more of a sense of the essence of Aquarius, is the story of Prometheus. So Prometheus is one of the Titans, is one of the early gods, and Zeus is the king of the gods. And some mythologies say that Prometheus created mankind. He created the human race, and other mythology says other people. But Prometheus loves humanity. He loves human beings. And he sees them sort of struggling in on the earth, and he goes to Zeus and asks if he can give the human race the gift of fire, the Olympian fire, the fire that is sacred to the gods. And what that means is fire, it's the expansion of consciousness. It is the light that illuminates the future. And Prometheus has the ability to see the future. Foresight. And Zeus says no. He's not particularly interested in the human race. He said, no, they can't have fire. Fire is sacred to the gods. It's for divine use only. And because of his love for humanity, Prometheus steals the fire from Olympus and takes it down and teaches the human beings how to use it. So after a while, Zeus is sitting in Mount Olympus and he looks out and he sees all the little fires starting up across the plains where the human beings are starting to learn to use fire, and he's enraged. He does two things. First of all, he has Prometheus imprisoned and chained up on Mount Olympus. And he has a terrible fate that every day the eagle, the bird of Zeus, comes down and pecks out his liver. And because he's immortal, he can't die. And in the night, the liver grows back. And the next day, the eagle is there again. And the other thing that Zeus does is he goes down to Earth, to the human, and he visits Epimetheus, who is the brother of Prometheus, and brings Pandora, this beautiful woman, and Prometheus and Epimetheus, Pandora and Epimetheus marry. And then he leaves, Zeus leaves with them, the box, and with the instructions, never open the box. And I was thinking, actually, sorry, I've got that wrong. It's Prometheus who says to Epimetheus before he meets his fate, he looks into the future and he says, whatever you do, you know, you're going to, with Pandora, don't open the box. Zeus is going to leave you a box. Don't ever open it. And of course, Pandora is curious, and she goes and she opens the box, opens the lid of the box, and outpour all the evils of human life, sickness, old age, and all the vices. And so these are now unleashed onto the human race. This is their punishment. And poor Pandora slams the lid of the box shut, and then she hears a little knocking, and there's one more inside. And inside, the last energy to emerge from the box is the energy of hope. And hope is one of the main qualities of Aquarius. So it's this looking into the future, wanting to make things better. The word associated with this, so one of the words is hubris. So what it is that the Zeus says, I am the god. I say which way the future will go. I'm in charge. I'm the guardian of the one who uses the fire. And it's hubris is a kind of pride that Prometheus says, I'm going to deny the gods. I'm going to deny the will of God. I'm going to give the fire of consciousness to the human race. I know better. He's basically saying, I know better. And this is the gift and the risk of Aquarius. Because Aquarius wants progress, wants to go forward, wants to make things better. Right now, we have an awful lot of stuff that we want to make better in our world. We've been, painfully confronted by the flaws, the fatal flaws in our civilization. And we don't know what to do about them. I mean, it's not like it's simply flip a switch and everybody be nice to each other. We've seen cruelty. We've seen terrible abuses of power. This is Pluto that rules power. We've seen things that seem to be stuck in place. And here comes Prometheus. He says, let's make it better. Let's make an improvement. And in that, the thing we have to be so careful about is the hubris. The idea that we can improve on God's creation. So it's a paradox. We have to improve. We have to go, or the human race will die out. And somehow we have to do that in a way that includes, it has to be humble. And if there's a message, which I think is out there, it has to come through the heart. So Aquarius is so clever and so brilliant. And, the Aquarius goes with genius, with sudden like, oh, I know how to do this. With these incredible, technological innovators who have brought us the World Wide Web, which is pure Aquarius, by the way, who have brought us all the social media, mobile phones, microchips. Absolutely stunning that these ideas come out of nowhere. They don't come out of nowhere. They come out of years of scientific research and so on. And yet in the end, this big leap happens, leap into, we can do this possibility. And this is Aquarius. And it's coming from the brilliant mind. It's seventh chakra coming down to third. A vision, something completely original, and it comes down, and through the third, I know how to do this. I know how to make a formula. I know how to make this real. I know how to bring it into life. And it is all too easy. And this is what we see in the world, to miss out the heart. Just go straight from head to practical, to making it happen. And if we go back to, the talk that I gave in March, and the whole thing of the summer and the lockdown, and the honoring of Saturn and Pluto with stillness, with meditation, with quiet time in nature. With Pluto, it's like, well, who has the power? Because when we look out in the world, what we see is abuse of power, imbalances, distortions of power. And we see it in our individual lives. People, human beings, you know, we're very wounded little beings, most of us. And for many, it's like, it's not easy to take on power. Much easier. I think that's one of the things politically, we so long for our politicians to do the right thing. We want them to take the power and do the right thing. So the whole question from Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn, who has the power? Who has the authority? Where does the power and authority sit in you? How are you going to find it? How are you going to find that essence, that root, that energy of the Hara, that energy of the Tantien? In stillness, in breath, in nature. And how do we find the ethics, the compassion, the wisdom to use power in a beneficial way? And that is by connecting through the heart. And it's not that Aquarius doesn't have heart, because it does. It loves the human beings. It wants the, you know, Prometheus wants progress. He wants evolution. He wants, you know, he sees the future. But for us, you know, on planet Earth, when we go too fast, when we're too excited, when we run, and Aquarius loves to run, loves to fly, then we lose connection with presence, with stillness, with the ability to feel from the heart. And that is when the ethics go awry and unethical and destructive decisions and choices are made. So I think I'm going to pause there for a couple of minutes if people would like to get a cup of tea. And yeah, go to the toilet break, go to the cup of tea. If you've got a candle, yeah, bring, if you've got 3 little candles, we're going to do some meditation. We're going to meet some of these archetypes when we come back. So be ready just to have a flame to light, to honor the gods. And yeah, any questions as well, but we'll have questions and answers at the end. Okay. Welcome back. I just put these dates up, and the reason is this is the progress of the planets into Aquarius. This is this new wave that we're going into, and for anybody who's into astrology, wherever Saturn is Saturn is the planet that has so much to do with life on Earth. Saturn and Venus. So when Saturn changes signs, Saturn going from Capricorn into Aquarius, then we just feel this wave moving into the energy of Aquarius, to the energy of air. So it's a lot more spacious, perhaps, than the Capricorn, Pluto, Saturn, which was sort of felt very constricting. So a lot of people that I'm speaking to are feeling a sense of relief, which probably has a lot to do with the American election. I'm sure there are people who are not feeling relieved about that, but a lot of the people that I hang out with are very pleased of the way the election went, and we have that sense of relief, and and we're moving towards the light of Aquarius. And in the Celtic calendar, Halloween at Samhain is the end of the year. It's like New Year's Eve. And then you have this 4-week period of in the dark, the November dark with the rain and the grey. And then you get to the winter solstice, and that is the new year, which makes total sense to me. So we're in that waiting time as the Capricorn wave is dissolving, and we're moving towards Aquarius. And, you know, it's easy to feel very hopeful. Hope's the quality of Aquarius. So the thing that I want to focus on is this. You know, I've spoken a bit about the risks of Aquarius and the risks of hubris and the risks of technology going out of control, and the risk of losing touch with wisdom, risk of losing touch with the heart, because it's such a brilliant, brilliant, shining light of the mind with Aquarius. So just to get a little bit astrologically technical, as soon as Jupiter and Saturn enter Aquarius, they enter in what is called a square. They will be at 90 degrees to Uranus. Uranus is the planet that is called, it's the ruler of Aquarius. So the planets in Aquarius are going to be squaring Uranus in Taurus. Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. And this feels very important to me. This feels like a very important message for 2021. And for the, you know, the 6-7 years that Uranus will remain in Taurus. So I'm going to say a little bit about Uranus and Taurus. And we could go on to the next slide, Monica. Yeah. So Uranus is the natural ruler of Aquarius. And right now, in the skies above us, Uranus is in Taurus. And the energy of Uranus, 7th chakra, mind of God, looking out to, you know, the cosmos, and the energy of Taurus are very polarized. Taurus, like Capricorn, is about, it's an earth sign. And one of the images I associate with Taurus is the Garden of Eden. And it has a lot to do with the body. And so we've got, well, I'm going to tell another story that I think illustrates the risk or the challenge in this, in what is going on with Uranus in Taurus. So this is the Greek creation myth. So in the very beginning, there is Gaia, the goddess of the earth, and there is Uranus, who's the god of the sky. And Uranus comes down at night and lies with Gaia, and she gets pregnant and she gives birth. And the beings that Gaia gives birth to are the Titans. And the Titans are, well, in the eyes of Uranus, the Titans are ugly. They are flawed. They are imperfect. You've got monstrous giants, or you've got the Cyclops with one eye. And so Uranus is not happy with his children, and he seizes them and he hurls them back into the womb of the earth, where they lie groaning. And Gaia's not happy about this. The pain of all her children are rejected. And so she eventually gives birth to Kronos, which is another name for Saturn, and she hides him away. And when he's grown up enough, he leaps out on Uranus, and Kronos, famously, Lord of Time, has the sickle of time, leaps out on Kronos and castrates him. And he takes the genitals and throws them down into the sea. And where the blood of Uranus falls on the earth, the Furies arise. The Furies are the harpies who hunt us down from the nightmare world. and where the genitals fall into the ocean, up out of the ocean arises Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, birth of Aphrodite. And Kronos then becomes the king, the ruler, and he rules for the age of Kronos, and this is the golden age, the image of the cornucopia. I'll come back to this. And eventually, Kronos is afraid that what he did to his father will happen to him. So every time Rhea, who's another earth goddess, gives birth to the children of Kronos, Kronos seizes them and eats them. Until eventually Zeus is born and Rhea hides Zeus away, and he grows up suckled by a goat, I think. And then he gives Kronos an emetic so that Kronos throws up, and he throws up all the children that he's eaten. And these become the Olympian gods. That's Ceres and Hera, Poseidon and Hades and Hestia. And Zeus becomes the next king of the gods, and Kronos is imprisoned in Tartarus. So you've got these three. You've got grandfather Uranus, father Kronos, and then Zeus, the child who becomes the final king. And the thing about this myth, it's very bloodthirsty, it's very violent. Gaia and Uranus don't go to relationship counseling so that she could say to him, hey, what about the kids? And Kronos doesn't say, hey, you don't like the way you're treating Mom, we've got to do something about this. It's violent. And the same with the battle Zeus has to be, there's cruelty and violence. Which is a big ethical question in itself. Is this just the way it is? Are we the human beings just violent and cruel, or is there another way? And the thing with Uranus, to come back to Uranus, or Uranus as we call him today, Uranus is the god of the sky. He's the god of this, he's hanging out in the cosmos with the stars, with the divine beings. And his earthly progeny, his children, are flawed. They're not perfect. And he rejects them. And he rejects them violently, and he meets a violent fate because of it. And I think this speaks to the risk of Aquarius. It's one of the most idealistic, perfectionistic signs. And Aquarius is the mind. So if you go off in your mind, if you've got that kind of mind, you've got mathematical formulas, you've got visions, you've got brilliant flashes of genius. And in that world of the mind, it is perfect. Every artist will struggle with this. You see the vision, and it's absolutely perfect and wonderful. And when you come to execute it, it doesn't work out that way. And it's flawed, and it's messy, and it's uncomfortable. And this is the way it is for life on Earth, certainly at this time. It's not ideal. People are not perfectly beautiful. Nothing is perfectly beautiful. Nothing is perfectly loving. We are messy. We are flawed. We get it wrong. And then we hate ourselves for getting it wrong. And that's another Uranian perfectionist thing. Perfectionist inner critic. You should have done this. You should have done that. It's your fault it went like this. You were so bad then, all the ways in which your critic will tell you that you're bad. And this is another aspect of Uranus, this perfectionism, this idealism. And if you think of some of the revolutions, since the discovery of Uranus, and the idealism, you know, the longing for the end of the aristocracy and for the raising up of the poor and the, you know, the bringing of justice. And then it goes into cruelty and violence, and people are getting murdered, or the armies on the street gunning people down. And this is the risk of Uranus. This idealism, this genius, this brilliant mind struggling to be in relationship with the body, struggling to speak from the heart, struggling to communicate. So when we look to 2021 and we see Jupiter and Saturn entering, you know, and saying, hey, let's have some change now. And this is what we want. We want the change. We want the vision. We want to know, how do we go forward? How do we go forward? In our societies, in our civilization, how do we save the human race from climate change, from plutocrats, from totalitarianism, from fascism? So, you know, it's not a mistake. We need that Aquarius vision. We need to see a way forward. But the risk of Uranus in Taurus, is, well, the challenge of Uranus in Taurus, we have to do it in relationship with the body. And we have to do it in relationship with the heart. We have to honor the body, the Taurus, the beauty of the body and the flaws of the body, and the flaws, the messiness, the vulnerability of living on planet Earth. And we have to know, we have to find a way to get from head to heart, not to make that leap from crown chakra straight to seventh. We got to come through the heart. And that is, you know, and the gods are not against that. Where my experience of meeting with the energy of the divine is that they also want that. They want that too. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is we're going to do a meditation. And I'm going to talk you through this, and we're going to meet with the energies of Uranus and Saturn and Jupiter, Uranus, Kronos, and Zeus. And I'm going to talk you through it, always in meditation. If your impulse, if your life impulse takes you in a different direction than I'm going, then follow your life force, follow your own life pulse. And we'll get to the same point at the end anyway. So, yeah, here we go. And you can have a little candle ready to light if that seems right for you. So that I've been talking a lot, so, you know, a lot of head, a lot of taking in information, inviting you now to settle yourself, to ground yourself, feet on the ground, and starting to use the breath. Breathing into your inner world, coming, you know, out of head, out of listening, out of Zoom. Be with yourself, wherever you are, and keep breathing. And for me, I'm starting to sink my energy down. I'm coming out of head, and I'm letting my breath lead me right down into the pelvic cradle, into the Tantien, lower Tantien in the belly. And I keep breathing and feeling the charge in the Tantien, and letting your focus sink right down through your legs and feet, right down through vertical power current, deep down, rooting into the earth, those oak tree roots. We are of the earth. We have these wonderful bodies, wonderful Taurian body, rooted into this beloved planet Earth. Keep breathing and grounding and rooting and starting to feel the earth energy rising up, that energy from the planet rising up through your feet and legs, through the vertical power current, anchoring you in your Tantien, in your pelvic cradle. And letting that your focus follow on up through the vertical power current, through all the third chakra and the heart, and the second in your own time, breathing up, fifth, sixth, and right up. I'm just feeling my horror connecting right up to the ID point. And my focus now to the seventh chakra. And breathing up that beautiful, high, fine vibration of the seventh chakra. And letting consciousness go right out into the cosmos, beyond the earth plane. Out to the stars. And this is the home of Uranus. And from here you can look down on the earth, and you can look down into your life and look down into the human race. Coming to this, these challenging times of pandemic and climate change. And all the other woes that we confront, all that has come from Pandora's box, how that confronts the human race. And allowing yourself in this cosmic place to feel your connection to the mind of God and to the divine energy of Uranus. The genius, the inventor, this brilliant visionary, lover of the human race. Can we invite Uranus to illuminate for ourselves, for this little group, and for humanity? Can we invite Uranus to illuminate new possibilities, ideas, inventions, concepts that are brand new and that show us the way? Keep breathing up through the seventh and out into the cosmos. And the vision of Uranus. All the possibilities for change. And you don't have to know exactly what they are. It's inviting the spirit of change, of growth, of evolution, of consciousness. And from your connection with the divine energy of Uranus, if you feel that connection, then the invitation is light a candle now for that visionary, idealistic, forward-looking, inspiring energy to guide you in your life and to connect us to all the groups across the world that are looking for that visionary light to show us the way forward. And the invitation now is, with use your breath, give thanks, giving thanks, gratitude for the energy of Uranus, for the inspiration and vision that will guide the human race into the future, into the evolution of consciousness, to keep connection with the mind of God. And using your breath, and as you breathe, focusing more and more into the hara, to that deep level of the hara. And as you breathe, just you might check in with your body. And we're going to meet the energy of Saturn. And Saturn rules the bones. So just using the breath to feel your bones. Breathing into your bones. Especially the spine. The basic structure of the body, the sacred temple of the body, and these amazing bones, this amazing structure on which we build our bodies. And in your own time, coming deep into hara. Just feeling that line of hara. We've just connected up to the ID point, or through the seventh chakra out to the cosmos, feeling that cosmic light drifting down through the hara, lower Tantien, and down into the earth. Feeling that yourself, that bridge, that beautiful divine bridge between heaven and earth. And you can reach out and check in with the little group hara, with the light of the other people who are here. Just stay with your own. Calling upon the divine energy of Saturn. Intention, manifestation, the gatekeeper, the Lord of time, Lord of limitation. Very, very grounded energy, Saturn, energy of the earth. You can take that sense of hara right down into the earth, into the rock of the land where you are. Because the energy of Saturn is about being human, being in a body, being vulnerable, these bones that can break. honoring the body. And that oak tree strength, that unshakable strength of horror that can survive when the hurricane blows, the tree that stands strong. And alongside this oak tree of strength and endurance, there's also the unicorn, or the child, the vulnerable, gentle, sensitive, vulnerability of being human. Those limitations of death and gravity and reality. We're not perfect. We don't have to be perfect. We have to be present and patient and responsible and human. And feeling your connection to Saturn, your connection to limitation, your connection to reality, your connection to the passage of time, and your connection to intention. The principle of manifestation. What is my intention? What am I going to manifest? And again, you don't have to struggle with answering those questions, just being in that place. And calling upon Saturn to be with you, with purpose, with intention, with that capacity to manifest. What is coming? What do we need to manifest? Individually, collectively. Calling upon Saturn, King of the world, Lord of time, to be with the human race and bringing through a vision of a better future and the intention to stay real and grounded and present. And if you feel that connection to Saturn and to her, invitation is to light a candle in this moment. And from this grounded connection to Earth, connecting with Jupiter. So going up to right down in the earth, start in right down and feeling that earth energy flowing up and coming to, in your own time, coming up to the heart and the high heart, the soul seat. And the sixth chakra. Divine love. and earthly love. Human heart. Just breathing to your heart, and this feels less about Jupiter as I'm here, just the sacred human heart. And all the feelings that we might have had over this year. The grief at some of the tragedies, some of the horrors, the rage, the fear, the loss, the disappointment. In my heart, I'm feeling for the young people having to deal with this, with the virus. Going to soul see, what is my longing? And what is my love? What is it that I love? And what I'm aware of is this is the energy of Venus, of Taurus. I love for this beautiful planet and nature, gratitude for nature, for the animals and the plants and the beauty of the sky. And for human beings, for contact, for the people that we love. Grief for any that any losses, and the joy of the connections that we have, family, friends, lovers, partners. And gratitude for the human race, love for the human race. Letting that love radiate out from you to embrace all of humanity. So in this place of heart, giving thanks to Venus, goddess of love and goddess of the earth goddesses, all the earth goddesses. And the invitation is focusing wherever you are drawn. So you can go up and out through the crown and back to Uranus, back into the hara and the spine of Saturn. And I'm just going to bring in the vision of Jupiter, going right up to the ID point and your divine essence pouring down into your heart and into the earth to reach out through the ID point to your divine divinity, your divine spark. This is Jupiter far out in the cosmos. That's Uranus coming down through the Hara, strength of the Hara, and through this beautiful heart. And just breathing yourself up and down this wonderful connection. And then looking to the future, where we began looking to the changes that are coming. Feeling connection to all the little groups across the earth that are meditating, that are looking to the winter solstice, that are looking to the next year, looking to Aquarius for whatever reason, all the little network of light that is building around the world of people like us, choosing love, choosing light, asking the planets to guide us to express the best possible future. I invite you to light one more candle for Venus, for Jupiter, for the alignment. For the alignment of Uranus in Taurus, Jupiter in Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius, and that energy of Aquarius, that enough human beings will be able to hold a beautiful vision for the future of it, including the heart and the vulnerability and love. And we can give thanks for this group that we formed today, and the love that for the gods that have, goddesses that have been with us, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. And in your own time, start breathing yourself back into presence, into your daily life. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. And Monica, if you want to click on to the next slide, keep going. It's the to the very last one. That one. Great. Yeah, when you're ready, how are you doing, everybody? If anybody wants to share,
I will just stop the
yeah,
so we can get back to seeing everybody.
And we could stop the recording if, unless people, well, no, people go, no, That's fine. We can keep going.
can pause the recording if anybody wants to be more
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Yes.
Rebekah and I talked on Friday that this is not the last workshop that we are going to host and support by the association and spread it, because we felt there's so many more things to come in the future that needs to be guided. So I'm sure that also in 21 we are going to have 2 workshops at crucial times, and we will let you know when it's going to happen, and maybe then we might even widen the circle and in time have more people live on and not just for the link. So just that you know that before you're leaving.
Thank you.